I
Yes,
think he
sir.
got it. Dr. Sudha
Yes,
Acharya now heads an
yes, sir.
organization which have 180 schools in the country.
Sir, अभी 195 we are,
Wow.
and
देखिए,
10 more are to join.
So
We
Rather,
crossed
it's
200.
going international now. Dr. Rajiv is a
Yeah.
part of it.
yeah, so
Uh,
200 schools. She's the chairperson, and the name
Wow.
of the organization is National Progressive Schools Conference.
Wow.
Yes,
Which was few years back headed by Ashok sir.
yes, I was about to say
that
that.
is history. Let us talk of future.
No, not history.
So you cannot talk about the future or present without talking
Yeah.
about history. And you have been a source of
There
inspiration.
comes Tanya ma'am.
Yeah.
There comes the journalist.
Yes. So we
Okay.
are live now, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So I will be quiet now. You can go ahead. Yeah.
So very good evening, everyone. It's a wonderful evening with such vibrant people, and what could be better than coming together and celebrating together, which has laid foundation to this great nation. We belong to our country. And when we say that we the Indians, we the people, what a sense of pride, what a sense of belongingness. And this sense of belongingness has to be nurtured, it has to be carried forward with our next generation leaders. And that's why at Alcon School, we are so proud and so privileged to be associated with Prime Point Foundation, which talks about promoting and acknowledging good leadership and generating positive vibes. So we do have founder of Prime Point Foundation, K. Srinivasan sir with us, who has pioneered, being the first civic body in India, which has pioneered awarding Sansad Ratna. And there are such politicians in our country, because the first impression when we talk about political leaders, there is a mixed reaction, and unfortunately more of it is towards the negative side. Though leadership has time and again proved that there is so much which is being done by these political leaders, so why not to show the right side of it and motivate our youngsters that tomorrow they also take pride and they become the leaders of future. So in this direction, a great work which is being done by the organization. We are also joined by Ms. Priyadarshini Rahul, who has been working with Srinivasan sir on regular basis, and she herself is a lawyer by profession, a very passionate, I would say, young leader who has inspired youngsters with her presence, with her talk and her organizational skills, and she has been working tirelessly. And today, this event which is being brought is a part of series of 4-day celebration of Constitution Day. Day one, we did have more than 20 students who participated in oratorical competition, which was talking about country before self, a beautifully thought of caption, where the children, they were able to share and give us the idea that how do they perceive that nation is before them and how will they carry it forward. Yesterday, we witnessed our politicians as well as thought leaders coming and deliberating, and young children asking them questions, which did happen at Foreign Correspondent Club of South Asia. It was a physical event, and there were more than 100 students which participated from different schools, and the ones who had taken part on the event in 25th, they were honored in yesterday's event. And today, I'm so delighted to have this opportunity to bring in the edu leaders from India and outside India. And we have our Alcon Schools Director, Dr. Ashok Pandey, who has brought this association and who has brought this motivation to children as well as educators everywhere. So Ashok sir, I welcome you also. And now,
Thank you.
let me take this opportunity to welcome and introduce our panelists. But before we talk about our panelists, let me talk about what are we going to discuss today and what is going to be our flow of the event. So definitely we are living in very exciting times. Now, let me talk about why is it exciting. Number one, as a nation, we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of India's independence. For us educators, it is something which we have been dreaming of, which we have been looking up to, and which we have got now as a gift from the state, we can see, is 1 year of dedication of NEP 2020 to the nation and to the educators and learners. So this is yet another excitement which is added. Of course, we have witnessed from closing schools under extreme pandemic effect to maybe a brief pollution effect in Delhi, but having emerged as a society which is able to take care of our children through hybrid mode of learning. And it has proved that learning never stops. It has proved the commitment of educators that they were able to transit, and they really proved to be the next generation COVID warriors. And imagine when these educators are there to motivate our children, we have already given them a path that yes, they will also know that where there is will, there is a way, and they will be able to find solution in everything, because the only thing which is certain about future is uncertainty. So living in these uncertainties also they will be able to manage. And what has emerged beautifully in this period is the family values, the bond and the responsibilities shared by families in terms of taking care of children, in terms of ensuring that learning never stops. And this is what will go on. Right from the leadership of our nation, from the Prime Minister to, I would say, next generation leaders, all have a great enthusiasm, all have a great resolution, and they are all here to work together. And when it comes to taking care of this generation next, the responsibility lies on the shoulders of we educators. So we are here to share some vibrant thoughts, some action points, and maybe some questions or thoughts which will be deliberated, which will help us connect with our great nation, which will help our youngsters connect with how they have to take care of this nation and in which direction they will take it forward. So I'm going to introduce our panelists today who are going to discuss about, as the topic you can see is role of teachers in creating awareness about fundamental duties. It was very rightly told by Srinivasan sir when we were initially discussing. He said that whenever we talk about constitution, whenever we talk about the people in society, they always put rights first, which becomes the responsibility even of the state. State is bound to give you those rights, but every right, I won't say comes for a price, rather it comes with a responsibility. And that responsibility is not something which can be documented on paper. That is something which cannot be taught to anybody, but that is something which has to be inculcated, and that has to be inborn. So we are here to build that sense of excitement, that sense of connectedness, and obviously generate or lead that thought process for our youngsters. So few things which will be discussed today, I'm sure are going to help everybody reconnect and reimagine and re-emerge. I'm going to introduce our first panelist for the day, Dr. Rajiv Chauhan, who is a principal of one of the largest Indian schools in the Gulf. And the single school which he is heading itself is having about 10,000 students from Indian diaspora. But the organization which he is heading, which is the Indian School Muscat Group, they have N number, I think about 12 to 14, Dr. Rajiv. How many schools, Indian school branches? Sir?
21 branches, and actually I'm not heading other schools, I'm heading only a Muscat. The other 21 branches are there.
Right. But
They are all
you can imagine in a country like Muscat, Oman, if Indian school, Oman is serving 45 to 50,000 odd Indian students. So they are the ones who are carrying our country in their heart and soul, and they are carrying the legacy forward. So I'm going to invite Dr. Rajiv to talk about understanding fundamental duties as per Indian Constitution. Over to you, Dr. Rajiv, for your thoughts and views.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Respected panelists on the board over here. First of all, my greetings to all of you from Oman. I'll start with first. I feel really privileged and proud that I will be the panel with such great people on the board over here. Topic given is something which we people in Oman miss a lot. We are all, have a lot of things. Like Sir Sanjay sir rightly said, we all talk of rights, we don't talk of duties. So, and dear students, we as educationists have a duty, and we have to pass the legacy which we got to our next generation. Like the year we are celebrating is Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which we call in abroad India at 75. It's a great event. The students, they don't know at what cost we got it, what things have been done. You have learned a little bit of history and you're going on to it. We will only give a bit of a thing, more you will get into your books of the things concerned. Number one, I'll just touch 2-3 points and then we go further on to it like that. We must motivate the children about the national flag. The meaning of national flag. Why does it have 3 colors? When you motivate them, that brings a unity amongst us. That brings us together into one kind of oneness. It is a vast country. It's a world in itself. But when it comes to the color of our country, that's a national flag, we call it, we all get united. And we really feel proud, whether we are serving at the borders or whether serving in. Dear students, first and the foremost responsibility, what I feel is respect to the national flag, the national anthem. On this, the governments are working very hard, and they've come up with a lot of curriculums also on that, like curriculum on the national feelings and all those things. We are doing. It is what to bring it together, and it's not that people who are working on the borders or people who are working at particular divisions are responsible for these ones. Everybody's contributing into it. It's always a team which works. Some will play like a football team, some will play center forward, some will play goalkeeper, some half, full half. So everybody has his role. So let's all combine together, unite together, and contribute towards this. This is our duty. Let's first understand our duty towards the country is concerned. Second, what I feel is about a rich heritage. Students, the heritage, what we have been bringing with us, what we got it, is immense. Probably when we come out of the country and then we realize people are not only Indians, the other people feel very proud. Look at your Indian culture. What kind of heritage you have, what kind of things you have. It's our duty now, dear students, to preserve this heritage, maintain this heritage, and make sure it's passed with full values back to the next generations, and so on has to go on. It was done to us when we were students by our elders. Same, we are also doing it out, and same we look forward to it. This is another very important thing for us is to learn. And the third most very important thing, everybody, all the duties are important. The third, which I feel on to go is about to nature. It's to preserve our resources, natural resources. The natural resources have been given to the people. The people who respect them, they will be better. Unfortunately, some of us forgot our duties over the nature. That is why a lot of challenges are coming, whether it be rain because of global warming, the rains coming out. There were recently rains in Kerala, as now it's happening in Tamil Nadu. That to reserve our resources, respect our resources. I would rather say respect our resources. We need them, but we use wisely. It's not that we should only consume everything and finish it out. We should use very wisely and we must pass it on to our next generations. These are the things what I feel, because and the other panelists also coming on to there. All of them are very important. But I feel on these three things, if we do it, it will, add something. You cannot take all of them together. Let's take small things. My suggestion would be set small goals. This year I'll do this part, and you start contributing it. And that is how we were trained, and that is how we look forward to you. And that's what you also pass it down to the next generation. With this, I would like to pause over here and hand it back to Sanjay sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv. What a beautiful beginning. You don't have to be a soldier, and yet you can fulfill your duties, because whatever is your duty and responsibility, if you do that with conviction, with connect, you are in the process of nation building. Yes, we are proud of our unity in diversity. And what a beautiful analogy. As a football team moving towards a common goal, and where the team spirit is something which plays the most significant role, that is how the goals are achieved. And let them be achievable, even if it is small but achievable goal, and you achieve that, definitely you have done something, and you keep moving one step to the other. Thank you so much for your perspective, Dr. Rajiv. And now moving on further, I'm going to invite yet another passionate educationist who has a diverse background, who is known for expressing herself, and that's why probably journalism was her first call, and she started, and of course she is still writing and motivating. But her presence, wherever I have seen, her presence is a vibrant presence, I would say, and it spreads joy, it brings the connect. And coming from a political science background herself, Ms. Tanya has been motivating children and educators, not only in Delhi NCR, but pan India and otherwise. And over the period, I have had the opportunities to hear her thoughts. And we are here very excited, very happy to have that Ms. Tanya has accepted our invitation, and she's going to share her thoughts with the educators as well as the children of today. And she's going to talk about, when I spoke to her about what are you going to talk about, so it came from her that being a political science person and connecting with it, I would love to talk about duties before right, and that is what we are going to hear from ma'am. So over to you, Tanya.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I thought, that when Ashok sir left Alcon, what's going to happen? Will my connect be there or not? But I think with you, the connect will be much deeper. And thank you so much for the kind words. Yes, I'm very passionate in whatever I do. But when you told me about the topic, I immediately jumped onto it, and I told you myself that I'm a political science person. I have been I did my graduation and post-graduation, and then have been teaching political science now for almost 30 years. And why this topic is so interesting and so important for all of us is because I've seen how children over the years, students, some of them are very, very negative. Some of them, in fact, say that, if you ask them also, how many of you would like to continue in India, or you would like to go abroad, the number seems to be rising. And that is very, very worrisome. And I have talked to my students at length about rights and duties, not only while I'm teaching them, but even otherwise. So some of the points that I would really like to stress upon is that, of course, fundamental duties, I think you would all know, is a part of the 4A of our Constitution. And they were incorporated in the year 1976. 1976 being very controversial because of the emergency also, and the duties were introduced at that time. But one statement, which is not by an Indian politician, but by John F. Kennedy, has always remained in my mind, and which I tell my students. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. This is a statement by a quote of which is attributed to John F. Kennedy, and it's so beautifully put because here we keep arguing, we keep saying, "इस देश ने हमारे लिए किया क्या है? What am I going to, why should I stay here? What is the use of all these duties? What are my rights?" I think when we start incorporating or inculcating this feeling in the children that rights are important, nobody is going to tamper with your rights. But before that, think of the duties. Think of the duties that you have and how best are you going to really put them into practice. Now, it's very nice to say that, yes, we have this duty of to preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. What exactly is composite culture? I think we as educators need to tell our children what this composite culture is all about and how is it going to benefit the country. These days, our students are not only very intelligent, but they are very critical. So I think if you just tell them you have a composite culture, they're not going to really understand that. They're not even going to listen to you. But I think if you indulge in a very healthy interaction and a dialogue with them, that is the time that this patriotism and everything is going to come about. Just by telling them, be proud of the fact that you're an Indian. I think the only time that they are proud of the fact that they're an Indian is when you have a cricket match between India and Pakistan. That's the only time I think when the patriotism seems to be in the form of bursting crackers also, which is not allowed. So I think we need to really go into the depth of things and try and tell them that how the duties actually will help not only you in your holistic development, but also in the development of the country. What we want to see our country as, that starts with you as an individual. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. And as Dr. Rajiv just said, that how proud you feel to be an Indian, how we have gained independence is something which is taken for granted. I think we need to reiterate it to our students. There are 11 duties that we have, fundamental duties. I don't want to go on each one of them, but even the thing like to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Imagine in 76 itself, we had thought of that what is the future generation of India going to look like? What capabilities should they have? So I think it's a very broad document that we have, which really needs the attention that it should be given a lot of attention, because that is what is going to help shape each one of our students, each one of our future citizens to be better citizens. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Tanya ma'am. What a beautiful way of telling our children that yes, you will get the sense of pride, you will connect with what greatness lies in our great nation, and that responsibility is with us educators to expose them to that. We need to tell them about it, we need to make them read about it, we need to discuss it, and then we have to allow them to think on their own, because we don't have to give them direction. We only have to share that yes, this is what is coming to you as a heritage. The biggest problem is the communication gap in terms of people are not aware of it. So the greatness they hear about, okay, our nation has been so great and there were so many stories, but then who is going to tell them those stories? So we as educators, we need to bring it in our discussion. Some of them, they will immediately be able to adapt and connect to it. Some of them they will discard, doesn't matter. But then let them have their own thought process, which is laced with positivity, which is laced with hope. And they are obviously much more empowered generation. So with all that empowerment which has been provided to them, this positivity is going to create the spark, and they are definitely going to take it exponentially. That is what we all know. So thank you for your wonderful thoughts, ma'am. And of course, moving forward, now we have yet another passionate educationist who is heading Ms. Sahar Syed, who is heading Hamdard Public School. And for over 24 years. Almost everybody has contributed this much or more, maybe. They have all been connecting with children. They have all been so passionate. I can say that majority of them are in this profession by choice. And once they have come into it, there is no looking back. And this is what is reflected in the culture of their organizations. This is what is reflected in their teachers, in their students. So over to you, Seher ma'am, who is going to talk about emphasizing the role of youth in implementing the fundamental duties.
Thank you so much, Sanjay sir, and good evening to all of you. Thank you to the Alcon family for having us here, and to all the speakers. I'm sure with each year of experience, we learn something. And on that note, I've learned because I'm not from a political background. I'm more of economics and English, language and literature. So when this topic was given to me, I was just pondering that what are the teachers basically doing currently, because the youth, where we talk about our knowledge, initially teachers were supposed to be knowledge providers or knowledge givers, but now with the advent of the IT sector and everything available on the net, so constitution, we all know, we know our fundamental rights and duties, as Ms. Tanya just said, but rights and responsibilities are the two sides of a single coin. If we are enjoying our rights, then the citizen should also be aware of the duties. And for creating awareness among students, it's about the important role that is played by our teachers to instill the values and to nurture our children to know more about our country. We should create awareness if we are enjoying our rights. Our rights we should practice on a regular basis, and we should keep our duties in front before exercising our rights. If we develop the sense of responsibilities in students related to fundamental duties, then there is a possibility of controlling the antisocial activities that's prevalent these days. The news has a lot of activities that are happening, which is not good to hear and see. Students are able to understand that destroying of a public property is also how you can serve. If you're not going to be destroying the public properties, if you have the civic sense, if you are not disrespecting somebody in public, that also would be your way to contribute in the progress of a country. Duties promote self-discipline and commitment towards nation. So on that note, I have just prepared a small PPT, which I like to share, that the role of the youth in implementing the fundamental duties would be, just a minute. The youth is important to make a country a better place to live. And we need to encourage and motivate the youth to be devoted towards the fundamental duties. National integration through art and culture. Interestingly, art, culture, and sports have a unique place in the overall development of human society. There's Darshan hockey, there's cinema, All India Radio have integrated the feelings of one nation. NCC, NSS are as well as the youth festivals that we have, are good platforms to promote academic and social interaction. Originally, there are 10 fundamental duties were given to the citizen. This constitutional provision says that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem. Cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspire our national struggle of freedom. Uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. Scientific temperament as C.V. Raman or Raman effect, creates a feeling of curiosity among the youth. It is widely accepted as the scientific temperament as a way of society should function. Analytical thinking has also helped the Indian society in eradicating communal riots and ethnic violence. The challenge and impediment. Public Administrator Fred W. Riggs described developing society as the Sala model. I was, this was something new to me, but this is what my political science teacher told me about the Sala model, which I've just got to know. The Indian Youth Development Report and the Index of 2017 revealed that there is a wide gap between the various human development indicators among states of India. If we want to ensure the proactive and effective role of the youth in nation building, the following challenges must be addressed primarily: overpopulation and high growth rate, unemployment and less employability of educated youth, unscientific temperament and decreasing common sense, ethnicity, gender discrimination, communal and religious issues, regional and socio-economic balances, poverty and left extremism, poor health and low immunity, drug addiction, including the social media addiction that's now. National Youth Policy, a fresh nation youth policy was adopted in 2014 under the wide circumstances of globalization and information, communication and technology revolution. The vision of National Youth Policy 2014 is to empower youth to achieve their full potential and through them enable India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. The Government of India believes that the youth should be active drivers and not merely passive recipients of development. So we need to create a productive workforce through one is education, second is entrepreneurship, and third, the most important, what CBSE is also endorsing, employment and skill development. Develop a strong and healthy generation. Eat healthy, stay healthy, and definitely sports. Instill social values and promote community services. We all as school educators are doing so. So teachers need to indulge and also participate along with the students for the promotion of social values and community engagement. Facilitate participation and civic engagement. So participation in politics and governance, 18 years and above can vote. So that is that our youth of today should vote, and youth engagements, collaboration, communication, commitment is important. Support youth at risk and create equitable opportunities for all, inclusion being one and social justice being the other. And to foster youth participation, we need to believe in decision-making of our youth. Be it good or bad, we have to take the ownership. Maturity and experience will come with age. Politics and policy making needs can be cultivated through prepared guidance. Youth council, parliaments, and participation of youth parliaments is important. Encourage the future leaders for informed decision making and be responsible for any consequences. We can engage youth in designing, monitoring, and reporting fields to evaluate strategies and programs for the nation. On that note, I hope I've been able to do justice to the topic. Thank you so much.
Sahar, you have done more than justice. I must say that there was such a power-packed presentation. There were so many ideas which have been put together in such a short time. Its impact is going to last for a long time, for sure.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
yes,
so much.
very beautifully, what you have brought out is, yes, to prevent our youth from getting engaged in wrong activities or maybe moving in the wrong direction. The only barrier is, the only stopper is the education. And we, since we are directly engaged in the process, we have to create ripple effects of that education. And then
Definitely.
only the society will come to the right direction. And
Absolutely.
when anybody talks about India, obviously the first thing which comes in everybody's mind, that it is such a vibrant society which has a lot of art and culture and maybe the cuisine and so much of diversity, yet there is so much of beauty. There are people I know that who have been living in rest of the world have one desire, lifetime desire, that at least once we should be able to visit this great nation and see what is there in it. And imagine, we are so fortunate, our youth is so fortunate to have been brought up in this culture and in this society. So they have everything which is desirable. We are talking about today, world is learning when we talk about health and well-being. This period of pandemic has started, though it was acknowledged even before that, and we started celebrating International Yoga Day, which
Gee.
has emerged as something, as a life skill, which is
Yes.
there to take care of everyone. And then we are always acknowledged for our families, for our values, for our system, which has been existing from ancient time. So it's just that it's building reconnect and definitely preparing our youth so they will be able to take it forward. Very beautiful.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
crisp you have presented, but there was so much to learn from this. I'm sure everybody who has heard you will take a lot to learn from.
Thank you. Just had to, put everything in a nutshell with the limited time. But yes, I generally tell my teachers that we all, in fact, not only my teachers, but we all have to be the role models for the upcoming youth, because youth is the future of the nation. It plays an important part in the nation building process. So always we have to have a tagline that why me? We should say try me, not only why me.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts. So now, the lady which needs no introduction, I'm sure that be it on a heated debate or maybe a calm debate on TV channels with an interest of educators or students, or while talking to principals and heading an organization which is having 200 plus principals and schools pan India, and some schools from outside India also. That's called, the name itself should tell you the values in it, National Progressive School Conference. And our dear friend, guide, mentor, and a vibrant person who has taken every possible opportunity. And this is something which I have spoken to her earlier also once. And again, I'm going to talk to her that yes, her time management skills, they definitely surprise all of us because she's visible everywhere. And how does she manage that? Be it in terms of making policy documents, contributing towards the interest, and then discussing at different forum just for the passion of it. So I take pride in introducing our next panelist, Dr. Sudha Acharya, Principal, ITL Public School, who is here to talk about, I think I should not introduce what is she going to talk about, and let everybody conclude after listening to Dr. Sudha that yes, because eventually she is going to give us the ideas, suggestive ideas, and let's hear from Dr. Sudha now.
Namaskar, and thank you, Mr. Sanjay, for your kind words. And I feel privileged among all these esteemed panelists. So I'll speak from my heart that as an educator, how I can sensitize my children and how I can motivate my teachers also. Why teachers? My conservancy staff, my admin staff, everybody. How to inculcate that pride of nationalism or patriotism in your heart. So when we think that every child who is passing out or whom we are nurturing should globalize Indian thoughts, so when we talk about rights and duties, real rights are a result of the performance of duty only. When Mahatma Gandhi said that the true source of right is duty, if we all perform our duty passionately or consciously, rights will not be far from us. But if leaving duties unperformed, we run after rights only, then rights will escape us. So first thing is that in school, how we can sensitize and create awareness about this feeling of nationalism, or we say patriotism, or doing for the country. As Tanya was saying, that what country can do for us or what we can contribute towards the society. So first thing is character building maybe in the school. School is a place, it is not for cognitive learning only. It is a place where our social, spiritual, emotional, psychological, intellectual, environmental, occupational, all these well-beings are taken care of. So we take care of emotional fitness as well as physical fitness. With when we perform our duties, we must perform with the head, heart, and hand in amalgamation. We are going to create future citizens who will be morally, socially, ethically responsible citizens, who will contribute towards the society, and who are going to be the doers. So that is my main important thing, is education must inculcate human dignity for one and all. That's very, very important. So when teachers are coming to the classroom, not only to deliver the content, now we are shifting from content-based education to experiential, to project-based, as we say, or competency-based education. So teachers must move out of their comfort zone. Education must take place anywhere and everywhere. In this, of course, during the pandemic, which has been the greatest teacher for us. I mean, we have explored ourselves. Now education can take place anywhere. But what I mean to say is that education doesn't take place only inside the classroom. While on the playground, in the cafeteria, do we respect each other? Do we take care of each other? Do we share? Do we have empathy? Do we keep ourselves in somebody else's shoes and feel for others? During pandemic, so many children, they lost their loved ones. So many children, they have lost their parents. So one child said, whole night I was just listening to my friend who lost his father. And he could not express his emotion, free flow of emotion in front of his mother, because mother was very, very vulnerable. By just lending an ear, you have proved to be the greatest body or the soul partner. The other child got so much solace that somebody heard me. So we are all human library. I mean, we say that we are running a project called Human Library. Why? Because all of us have a story to share. All of us have a journey. So do we really move along? So as school leaders, our main important thing is to pass down this leadership skill to our students. So when we say that student leaders nurturing their youngsters, or they are creating awareness amongst their youngsters how to be productive in society, how we can give back. So in school, few things I'll just discuss here. One is Electoral Literacy Club, which is a recent initiative of Election Commission, because we see that when election takes place, all of us so-called literate people, we enjoy it as a holiday. We don't go and cast our vote. That is our fundamental duty. So when these children are in our responsibility, or we are nurturing them, can we create that much awareness that when they turn into 18, is it a fundamental duty, or can they create that awareness and sensitize the society around them to cast their vote? So we all have electoral literacy club, and doing different kind of activities right from class 4, 5 to class 12, so that when they go to the adulthood, they know that it is a fundamental duty to cast their vote or exercise their power. We always complain that we do not have good leadership in political field. So be a leader, be the change what you want to see. So that's why Electoral Literacy Club, I will say one. Another, the recent initiative taken by Government of India, that is Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. All of us, so many children of my school, they read the preamble in different languages. And like we have done a lot of slogan writing or a lot of activities under Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. Or in social studies, children are studying different states, the geography, history of different states, or culture, heritage. But we really conduct activities on that. Once I was asking a child, Rasgulla kahan milti hai? And the child is saying Rajasthan mein. But the child was able to tell me galiyan or all the high street roads in Oxford Street and London and Paris. He's so familiar, but not familiar with Indian rich culture and heritage and what we have. Every 2 kilometers, our cuisine, our hamari bhasa, hamari boli, everything changes. So do we really celebrate that diversity? When we are teaching in the classroom, and suppose we are in northern part of India, so most of the children, almost, they are from the northern part of the India. But if, as an economics teacher, when I am talking about resources, say natural resources, if I talk about northeast part of India and one child is sitting there, feels involved in the class, if I bring in regional content into the class, then that is actually national integration. How through teaching learning process we can bring in this awareness of our constitution or fundamental duties, not only by reiterating those 11 duties which has been written in the constitution. So if children, they memorize that, that will not be implemented, not be executed. We are the role model. So when we talk, when we speak, when we do something, is it reflecting these duties? Before preaching these duties, do we really practice? So in the teaching learning practice, in everyday schooling, how we can incorporate these duties and then create that awareness, that is our most important thing. And then next one, I'll talk about citizenship education, be it global citizenship, be it civic education, be it digital citizenship skill. These days children are always on the media, social media, and they should know what is good, what is bad for them. So many fake news are making round. So the role of teacher has very much changed from information provider to facilitator. We are mostly guiding them, mentoring them. So what I mean by digital citizenship skill, you all must be aware with World Economic Forum, and there is an institute, DQ Institute in London. So they are providing us 8 kind of digital citizenship skill, so that when we are using this smart gadgets, how ethically we can do that. So that is one more thing. So with global citizenship skill, how we can incorporate our fundamental duties, how we can take care of each other's sentiments. So in the school, when I talk about empathy or social responsibility, Tanya and myself, just a few hours before, we were talking about social responsibility and community outreach program. Why do we have these programs in school? Just to create that kind of sensitization or awareness among children to do something for others. We talk about mental health issues and a lot more during COVID-19. Children were feeling agitated, they were aggressive, isolation, feeling low, and then some suicidal thought. All these things came into our knowledge. So why this is so? So when you feel low and you can think that there is somebody else whom you can help, somebody needs your help, somebody just needs to talk to him or her, that's enough. So if that kind of feeling, that kind of orientation we give our students, then they will be out of these kind of feelings. We can take care of their emotional fitness. So when we say that dignity of labor, when we talk about skill education or vocational education, our parents or our children think that, no, I would not do a course on electrician or plumber or some kind of thing. I'm here in private school, I'm getting education, so I want a corporate house job or something. Is it bad to know when something goes wrong, if you fix in your house? If your pipe is leaking and you know how to fix it. If you have some electrical connection problem, you know how to fix it. You are self-reliant. You are independent. So let us teach our children or orient our children for independent living, taking care of others. So how do we socially integrate in society with others? So that is most important part of our education, just not academic learning. So there are different aspects of our education in school, how we can create awareness every day in every subject, whatever subject we are teaching. Fundamental duties can be beautifully incorporated, and when you are doing, of course, your duties, rights will follow. automatically. We give the sense of responsibility and accountability in school. All of us, we have a prefectural body or school council body, and we delegate them responsibilities. Give them the power to choose, and the responsibility and accountability to deliver something. Take the back seat. Give the leadership to the students. So when they take the leadership of our nation, obviously they'll be the best. So that is the kind of education we should have, and that's the basic purpose of education: integration in life and productive to the society. And I believe if we provide nurturing, caring, compassionate environment to any child, can productively contribute to the society. So that's my main aim of education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sudha. Should I caption it as number one, holistic well-being unlocked? So that is how beautifully you have talked about every aspect of holistic well-being. And then it did connect me to the thoughts which were shared in his last speech by B.R. Ambedkar ji, when he presented or dedicated the Constitution, that he did talk about practicing political democracy, and then he gave a higher significance to social democracy. So we cannot only talk about democracy in political terms, but what is social democracy? That sense has to be established among the children. And yes, of course, being a very young nation with an average age of 28 and having a population which is almost 1/5, which impacts the world in terms of its policies, in terms of its generation. And then how do we talk about global citizen? What is our concept of global citizenship? Well, let's not talk about big terms, but where does it begin? Grassroots level, what is it? A child who is being a responsible child at home. A child who is able to connect well and fulfill or perform his duties in school or in the community where he or she is living. And then who has the sense of pride of the nation is going to be the top global citizen, because it all starts from the roots. So let's keep our roots stronger, and definitely we don't have to worry about, as you said, that only give them the base and hold that strong and set them free. Once we set them free, they are the ones who will have the strong root and they will carry it forward. So beautiful discussion, and I'm sure that everybody is excited. Everybody has got a lot to take. In such short time, we have been able to discuss so much, and I'm sure that Srinivasan sir will be very happy listening to the thought. So we still have little more time, and I'm going to request Srinivasan sir and Ashok sir, and as well as Priyadarshini, if they can quickly share their thoughts so that we can move further.
Let Srinivasan sir come first.
Sir.
Oh, good evening. Really, I got excited to listen to all the luminaries of Delhi schools and even from abroad. Really a very thought-provoking. And one thing I remembered, whenever we go to the young people, colleges or anything, when I used to address them, I used to ask them, how many of you would like to become doctors? A lot of people will raise. How many of you would like to become engineers or any subjects, chartered accountants or college professors or school teachers? So many people used to raise their hands. But very unfortunately, when I asked them, how many of you would like to become a politician? Everybody will they will keep their hands tight. I used to always wonder, I used to ask them, no, sir, politics is a dirty, politics is a rotten thing, and then if it is only drainage, if it is a politics, only the pigs will go. I used to tell them, people with the educated people should go to the politics. People with the good intention should go to the politics. It is like any other profession, any other thing. That's how we had a lot of eminent politicians like Dr. Ambedkar, Rajaji, Sardar Patel, Lal Bahadur Shastri, and so many people, name a lot of hundreds of Dr. Rajendra Prasad, cutting across a party line, Kamraj, and so many people, freedom fighters. and they became a politicians. They started preparing the constitution and gave it to us, we the people of India. Even Dr. Ambedkar's, probably the schools also should consider, whenever the Ambedkar's speeches within the parliament, the constituent assembly, they can also put, give them, the students, some assignments or anything. What a great visionary he was. He was telling in those days when the people were demanding for social justice, reservation and everything, he was against the reservation. Of course, he agreed for it, but he said education was the only important thing that can develop the society. He was insisting on education. He wanted to provide more opportunities to the people to come up in the life through an education. That's how Dr. Ambedkar had a vision. But of course, for political reasons, so many things are happening, and that I am not questioning their wisdom, because that was also needed. Because Dr. Ambedkar, I used to consider him as the greatest visionary of that. That's why even the Indian Constitution, which was drafted by him, it has withstood 75 years. Lot of political crisis it has withstood. We found a solution there. Yesterday also, I was mentioning in my video speech to the thing that the people in the age group of 0 to 20 constitute 40% of our Indian population. This is a very high population. The 21 to 100 is only 60%. Already they are there in the governance. They are already there. We belong to that particular section. Whereas the 0 to 20 are the future India. After 20 years, they are going to take over the country in various forms. They are going to be the teachers, they are going to be the chartered accountants, they are going to be the doctors, they are going to be the lawyers, they are going to be the politicians, policymakers, IAS officers. That is what we thought. That was one of the things that prompted us. Why not we this time? We have been talking every year for the past 4 years. We have been doing this Constitution Day, but we used to address all the elders. We used to college boys and other things. Why not we go to the children, school children? Because I was very close with Dr. Abdul Kalam. Whenever he used to say, a lot of times he used to tell me, catch at the school level, because they are very, very vulnerable. They can, you can give them anything good, they will pick up. And he used to like teachers also. I tell you, yesterday, Mr. Hansraj Ahir came as a chief guest for our function. And he is one of the Sansad Maharatna awardee. Then I introduced him to Dr. Abdul Kalam. He invited him to come to Chandrapur. In 2014, Dr. Abdul Kalam agreed to visit Chandrapur to address students and teachers. And I had the privilege of accompanying from Mumbai to Chandrapur in a private jet. And he returned also. You know, 1 lakh children were present, 1 lakh children of Vidarbha region. He brought them from various schools to listen to Dr. Abdul Kalam. And then more than 10,000 teachers were present. That was one of the largest. Abdul Kalam got highly impressed. On return, he was telling me how it was very important to address the teachers rather than addressing so many other people. Because the teachers, every teacher teaches thousands of children. They are generated. Even if 100 boys or girls pick up their good advices from the teachers, that is going to make a big change in the country. That's why we thought this time. And when we discussed with Dr. Ashok Pandey also, he was readily agreeing. In fact, I am grateful to Dr. Ashok Pandey to having, I know I have not done anything except in giving some ideas. It was only Dr. Ashok Pandey who has done an excellent job on all the 4 days program. And in fact, that is why we thought that it would be better to reach out to the children so that the message gets viral. And we will continue to, for some more time, we will continue to do this exercise so that the children, many number of children across the nation get exposed to this Indian Constitution, values and ethics, our great Indian culture, even fighters. How many of us speaking only for the past under various our rule? And what has happened 1,000 years before that? India had the greatest civilization. India was the greatest scientist. Even today, I have done a story on Ram Setu itself. The amount of a description that has been provided by the Valmiki 7,200 years, what an engineering marvel. He gives a blow-by-blow account how the bridge can be constructed on a sea. And even look at Rajaraja Cholan, because in South India is rich with a lot of buildings. Because the North India, due to invasion, many of the buildings have gone. Now in South India is getting preserved. In South India, particularly in Tamil Nadu, when you visit next time, you see every 2 kilometers, you will find one big temple of 2,000 years old. And somebody was telling the other day when he was visiting London, and the driver was showing him, no, sir, this is 80 years old building. For them, an excitement was 80-year-old building was a great excitement for the drivers. Here, when you come to here, you find 1,500, 2,000 years old buildings are quite common. You can just walk in and see how the construction, so many tsunamis, so many cyclones it have stood. Tanjavur temple, what an engineering marvel. And even that the basement is only 7 feet basement is there. Even IIT used to invite the Sthabadis and then ask them to discuss. The civil engineering department invited the Sthabadis, the present Sthabadis, and asked them how that it could withstand 40,000 ton of a building can withstand on a 7-foot basement. How it happens? Because it still happens. And somebody is coming. Who is that? A minister. I am told the minister was in the meeting. The minister completes the meeting. He said he will log in. Priya, can you just check with?
I will follow up, sir. I will follow up, sir.
Priya, please check with
I will
Rajiv
follow
Verma.
up, sir.
He is there waiting outside the meeting hall. He is in the. They are discussing. All leaders are discussing now about the parliament discussion, parliament session. If he comes out, he said he will give them a mobile. You just follow it up. So with all these things, we have a rich culture, heritage. Whether how many of them they know about that. These are all the things that that causes a lot of concern for all of us. So that it's high time that the 0 to 20 constituting 40% after 20 years, if they are groomed well, India is going to be the biggest or the #1 nation. If they are groomed otherwise, what will happen? Nobody can imagine, because everywhere the good people are there, bad people are there. That's why we have chosen to honor the good politicians, including Mr. Hansraja here also is one of the greatest good politicians. And that's why we honored him. Even Rapolu, yesterday he was there present with us. He was also honored with Sansad Ratna Award, one of the best speakers in the parliament, a journalist and the MP. Anyway, I gratefully acknowledge the support given by Dr. Ashok Pandey and Dr. Sanjay and the Alcon group of schools for this great mission. Even tomorrow also we are going to have, this time we are going to do a 4 days session on this Constitution Day. Thank you very much. Really, I enjoyed the presentation by all the principals. Really a great job. And the students are quite lucky to have you all as the principals there. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ashok, sir, for...
Yeah, Priyadarshini. Priyadarshini.
Yes, sir.
Please come in and say a few words. You are a young advocate and you are the force behind this whole show. I think you must come in.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. In fact, I should only thank these principals from various schools for taking out time and being so well prepared for this session. I have made extensive notes. Then now I have to start troubling Ashok sir of how to implement it. So that's one task all of you have given. But I should personally thank Tanya ma'am, Sudha ma'am, Rajiv sir, Sahir ma'am for being with us today. When we chose to do this title of Teachers in Grooming Fundamental Duties in Students, it actually came out as my personal experience, because even today, I am in touch with my 6th standard English teacher who had been the spark for whatever I am. People may feel that Priya is thoda, alag se hai. Like, I'm not in that bracket of probably enjoying life for the age I belong to. I am a little ahead of my age. but I feel that's the spark my teacher has imbibed in me, and the school, the amount of teaching the school has given me. And I'm sure your students are really very blessed to be under your abled guidance, and I'm sure the students are going to do really very great. And so if there is something that Next Gen political leaders or Sansad Ratna Awards Committee as a team can do for inculcating any kind of social or civic responsibilities in your school or in your for the students along with you, so we would be very happy to collaborate and try helping out. Spreading this awareness about politics is good and it is essential.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Ashok, 1 minute, can I add one word, Dr.
Yeah.
Ashok?
Yeah, please.
I request all the principals, suppose if you find any good young students and who have an interest in politics or groom, irrespective of the political parties, whichever political philosophy he wants to do that. If he wants to be a good politician in future, it has become very rare also. And you please share with us and ask them to get in touch with Priya. So we want to identify, we are in the process of identifying good politicians, which may not be useful today, but at least after 10 years, they will all be groomed as a good politician. The country needs a good leaders, because today we are having a lot of leadership crisis everywhere. So at least we will contribute, all of us together we can contribute in a small measures, like a squirrel in Ramayana. Thank you very much, Dr. Ashok.
Thank you.
So
Thank
I've
you,
just
sir.
got a
So
message from the minister's office. I think his meeting is yet not finished. So he said he may not be able to join us. I thought I'd just inform.
Okay, meeting not yet over. Okay, fine.
all right. So I think now we are at the fag end, and I have absolutely reaped all the benefits of the wonderful points made by my very dear colleagues. The ideas were very fresh and absolutely pragmatic and very doable. And I think I have been an educator myself. I realize at the hindsight now that probably we do very little justice with teaching our students the constitutional values. We teach them everything else but the constitutional values. And I think if I have to be a teacher all over again, even my physics class, I'm a physics teacher, I will teach them constitutional values. And I think we have to make it an undercurrent and integral to the curriculum because our constitution is great, this country is great, and the constitution and India's values are not separable from each other, because the constitution is settled in the overall Indian culture and heritage. So I think if we teach values and we connect it with the constitution, probably we'll be doing a much better job. We often say, and we have been saying it for past 2 days, and next 2 days also we are going to say that fundamental duties, they are a pious wish, and it doesn't have the teeth because it can't be forced. I think when we meet with a situation like this, where we can't force something under the gun of the law or the fear of the law, I think power of persuasion reigns supreme. And therefore, if we just decode these duties and how they connect with the rights, you see, say, for example, we all have our duties towards our family. We have our duties towards our friends. We have our duty towards our neighbors. And then only we can ask, what is my right within my own family? Nobody asks about the rights first. We generally talk about the duties. So similarly, how we can build our curriculum and pedagogy that even to the nation, we start talking about our duties first, and then we talk about our rights. So this is one thing which is bothering me for quite some time. If we cannot show respect to the public property, which is our duty, then why should we have the right to have property? I think if we start connecting this and we start connecting the consequences of your failing in your duties, the resulting in your withdrawal of the fundamental rights right from the young age, then probably we can demonstrate some kind of forcing these rights without going to the law of court. So I think what Sudha said, or Tanya said, Seher, all of them, Dr. Rajiv, are saying only one thing, that the schools are the laboratories to nurture these young boys and girls. And we can tell them that what is the process through which this nurturing will bring first-rate citizens for the country and for the world. So I think this is the message which very profoundly you have conveyed through this discussion. I compliment all of you. And Priyadarshini said that she has made an extensive note of it. I think you have done a great job. Bring those notes, we'll sit down together. I told you in the beginning that these are very influential people who are in the room today. And probably we can codify it, we can make it a document, we can share it with the schools, that this is what the outcome of this Constitution Day is. And these are the little modules you can integrate in your classrooms to bring the constitutional value in our consciousness, because it is missing from the consciousness. You open any NCERT book and the first page is "We the people of India," but we just flip that page, you see. Even if we don't flip that page, we don't attach any meaning to it. We don't attach any sentiment, belongingness, value to it. I think that has to come back to our classrooms, in my opinion. So thank you, Sanjay, for your excellent moderation and excellent presentation by all the principals here. Srinivasan sir, you have the habit of inspiring people and instilling in them the motivation that is desired. And you have in front a young leader like Priyadarshini, which is both an inspiration and also a tick off for the elder generation, that look, I can do it at my age with all my responsibilities, attending to children, attending to husband, attending to Supreme Court of India, attending to all my duties, and yet I'm happy in doing it. So I think that's a great source of inspiration in itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
one invitation. I have an invitation to all our senior principals here. On March 26th, we are going to have the 12th edition of Sansad Ratna Awards at Delhi. And you will find the eminent parliamentarians, the top stars of Indian Parliament, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, top 10 people, you will be finding them there. And I would like to invite you all to this great function. And then if there are some students who are really interested to have an interaction with them in all these 5 schools, you may kindly inform Priya. I request Priya to coordinate. And then we can have a separate interactive session. That's also, we are also planning to interactive session with highly, India's inspiring politicians. We are always seeing only bad politicians. There are also a good number of good politicians are there. Let them also learn from them the struggles that they undergo and how they are doing it, how they have become a good leaders. We can also, each school also can identify people and pass it on to Priya. We will work out some project. Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Ashok, excellent organization.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this wonderful thought. And I'm sure that we are all delighted, because eventually it creates an opportunity, and the whole purpose, whole essence of this celebration is to take nation first, and how to bring it first in the minds and heart of our children. That is what has been an attempt from our side, and I'm sure that we have touched some hearts, and that is going to create the ripple effect. That is what was my wish. And I want to take this opportunity to also thank my team. Ms. Ekta is here already, and of course there are many others who have been working tirelessly behind the curtain, and Priyadarshini is a witness to that.
Ekta, you can come on camera.
You can ask them to come on screen.
Switch on your video. Yes, there
even
you are.
Srinivasa Gopal,
Beaming,
our
beaming
technical
face.
person also is there.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Please come on the video.
Srinivasa, where are you? Why are you hiding yourself?
Srinivasa Gopal is there. He's our presence. He's in the editorial team of our e-magazine presence. He's also in the Sansad Ratna committee.
Very nice. Mayank is here. Yes.
Some of my team members are still behind the curtain, I would
No,
say.
no, please come on
But-
this. Please come on show video. Let us have your.
So tomorrow, definitely, we will probably create a kind of where we have a group photograph and we'll meet everybody. But we are so delighted to have this opportunity, and I'm so thankful to all my panelists that it was just one message and one call. And they promptly they said, no, we are definitely going to be there. Sanjay and Sudha ma'am repeatedly said, thank you for bringing us together. So this togetherness is the sense of pride, and I'm sure that you can be rest assured that our children and our nation is in safe hands, and we are definitely going to work towards empowering them and guiding them, and we'll keep moving ahead. This brings so much of relevance to our celebration. This gives us so much of satisfaction, and I'm sure that everybody will feel and connect with what we have said. So thank you so much.
You know, Sudha, why I love this platform of Prime Point? Because you get invitation to come here, and before you go, you have another invitation. You see?
Yes.
So
yes.
that is what I love. So we have already one invitation more.
No, I
Thank
was delighted to be here because all my dear friends are here. So immediately on one call, I think Sanjay just called up and I said, yes, we will all be there. And
So
it's a
Dr.
great
Rajiv-
team.
Dr. Rajiv, I only sent him a message and he immediately called me back from Muscat. And that too, he said, I'm going to be there, don't worry, but just coordinate, everything goes well. And
Yeah.
thank you, Mayank. He promptly, yes, morning we were busy with some other event. So Mayank, he said, I'll create the link and I'll make sure everything runs smoothly. So there are a lot of people who are working behind the scene, and they themselves are the motivation for our children. You can imagine these teachers when they interact with children inside the classroom. So what kind of energy and synergy they bring in their classes.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Sign off
everybody.
now, and
Yes.
with this,
Pleasure being
Thank you,
here.
Dr.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And thank
Thank
you,
you,
the
Sanjay.
Alcon School for organizing. such a
Priyadarshini,
show.
congratulations.
Thank
Day 2.
Yes.
Day
Day
3,
three,
sir.
Thank you
Day
to
three.
everybody,
Day
the
3.
Alcon
Agree?
team, as well
Again, I
as to all the
congratulate her.
panelists. Yes, thank
Day
you.
1, day 2, day 3. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes. And you
Tomorrow,
have been
tomorrow
that
we are going to
inevitable
have at the
spirit
same.
who has
We
been
could
Tomorrow
running
we are
the
going to
stop the
entire
have-
live
from the back.
streaming.
I should really thank Ashok sir, Sanjay sir for the amount of spirit you bring into the forum. You know, that gives me the energy to run faster with bigger responsibility.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow at the same time, we are going to have Mr. B.S. Raghavan. He is 95 years old and a very senior retired IAS officer. He worked with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. He has worked with, he is still very active as a columnist. And he worked with Lal Bahadur Shastri and Indira Gandhi also. He was the first Secretary of National Integration. He is the first Secretary of National Integration Council. And he is joining tomorrow.